Good morning, everyone. My name is Rotimi Itai. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. We're streaming from a special location that we'll be disclosing in the next few minutes. And it's always a great morning on the show. We're streaming from Lagos, Nigeria to West Africa to Africa and the entire world. The Good Morning Education Show deals with issues on education within the world of education and, of course, around the world of education. And we have fantastic experts, awesome experienced analysts who are going to be sharing their views and also taking the topic of the day and trashing it with their own perspective. And of course, we welcome you to share your thoughts, your comments, your contributions, and of course, your questions as well. And please do let us know where you're streaming from as you share your name and tell us where you are. We will ring the bell of blessing to you. Ladies and gentlemen, tell someone to tell someone the Good Morning Education Show is here. Thank you very much. And I'll be bringing our guest up. And the first person that I'll be bringing up today is a doctor, Dr. Bimbo. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning.
I want to ask you a question, but I don't know if I should ask in front of the whole world.
What is this question?
It's about your morning routine.
No, no, no.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. And
It's
then,
great to be on the show today.
yes, thank you. Fee, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Ogundere. Good morning, Prof. Tire. Good morning to every one of our tribe members. I'm very fine this morning. Um, what excited and yeah, ready for the show this morning. It's a great Friday, and it's been a beautiful week and a very beautiful way to round off the week. And yes, we're in a location that is quite a super exciting. So I'm
We're
fine.
streaming from 10 degrees Billings Way, Oregon, at the TOSE event, TOSE 2021. Dr. Bimbo, you should be here.
Well, I should be right, but I'm not. I should be here, but I'm not. But I'm happy that you are there. Is that good?
Okay. All right. So we'll represent you in spirit and in truth. All right. That's good.
Hallelujah.
Okay. I thought I saw Dr. Motola. She's been here. So, Finn, over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. A. Tayo. We are going right on to the headlines. We'll be taking the headlines of the show. But before we take the headlines, like we have said, we are live at the Tose in holding at the 10 Degrees Event Center, 10 Billings Way, Oregon. And one of the highlights of the exhibition for us is the Ginger Me special. So you can find, let's see, can I hold up the flyer for you to see? Okay, so you can take advantage of the Ginger Me special. This it's discounted, and you can have speed coaching and a speed clarity session. With Mr. Ritimi A. Tayo, it's highly discounted, and like the post that was sent out said, this happens just once in a yellow moon. So the next time you see a yellow moon is when this discount is going to come up. We So yeah, we will be looking forward to seeing you today. Yesterday I met with our distinguished tribe member, and it really Olumide Olushola. Yeah, I hope I'm not mixing the names up. I met with him yesterday and really was nice to see one of our tribe members. So we look forward to seeing you today. Join us at the exhibition. Okay, going right on to our headlines this morning. The first headline: Ondo communities lament lack of teachers, facilities. Dr. Ogundere, what do you think about this?
All right. So, lack of teachers, lack of facilities. We're back, right? Within the same conversation we have been having, right? That lack of teachers, is the teaching profession, is it attractive in any way, right? Are people running to be teachers? Are they jumping over themselves to be teachers? I mean, everywhere is Ondo is just has just decided to lament. We are all lamenting. The whole of Nigeria is lamenting the lack of teachers and the lack of facilities, right? So I'm thinking to myself that public schools in Nigeria in 2021, right? So we're not we're in 2021, smack in the middle of the 21st century. We're asking ourselves, why is it that we are still lamenting about lack of facility for education, for schools, when we all know the importance of education, we all know the importance of schools. So we are still, we're behind, and we are asking the government to please close this gap that continues to exist and continue to widen. We're asking that everyone beyond the government, if everyone lends their voice to these issues, I think that it would be louder, the call for change will be louder. So that for me, that's what it is.
Yeah, thank you for that. These are things that we keep. It's like we recycle this problem.
Exactly.
We're looking forward to the day when this recycling is over, and then we'll be having different headlines, something more
Conversations, yes.
exciting to talk about. Talking about our schools. Maybe we have school exhibitions where the students are, they're falling head over heels to show their inventions. Those are the kind of headlines that we would want to be talking about. Okay, the
Very
second headline, our next headline: listen to your parents, study hard. Commissioner tells students. Yeah, is this really something that we need to say to students, that they need to listen to their parents and they need to study hard?
I don't even know why it's a headline, but let's just assume that it's a headline. I don't know why it's I don't know. Maybe it's almost as if the media, why is this a headline? Right? I would want a headline that states something about how a gap, again, back to gaps, a gap is being closed in some aspect of the education provision chain, and something that we have is being closed, and we have data of success, right? To say, okay, you know what, this has been done, and data shows that this is the success rate, this is the impact of that. I think is what should be headlines, especially for papers like Punch newspaper. So parents, listen to your parents, study hard. We have heard, we're all going to do that. And
So sometimes I wonder how they headline this news items. I really wonder at times, because the commissioner was actually speaking at the 15th Merit Award of the Lagos State Education District 4, SAPO, and I think much more importance and emphasis should have been placed on what happened.
What she was saying, exactly.
Yes. Because
not just
the event was themed Resilient Achievers in the Face of Daunting Challenges. And if they had taken something more out of her speech, talking about daunting challenges and being resilient students, it makes a lot more sense to me than saying, listen to your parents. Doesn't every child know?
It just seems like a whole commissioner, went to a place, and the most important thing she said was, listen to your parents, study hard. So
anyway, going on. Mathematics should be taught with real life examples. Are they reporting back on our show of yesterday? Because is what we talked about yesterday. But okay, what's your thought really on the teaching? Sorry, that was day before yesterday. Yesterday was for science. On Wednesday we talked about mathematics. Is this what are the real life examples that should be going into the teaching and learning of mathematics?
So I think, I mean, for me, it would be, so when we talk about mathematics, how does that apply in the world today? It applies in the place of obviously basic buying and selling, right? Basic entrepreneurship, applies in places of just having conversations around things that are more or less of, So of course, then it applies again in the bigger place of STEAM and STEM and all that. So for me, you'd be surprised the number of children who would learn 2 + 2. I mean, I'm going all the way down now. 2 + 2 in the classroom and get into the market space and cannot apply, that information in the marketplace. So there's always been that gap between what children learn in class and what it is that they use that learning to do when they're outside the classroom. I remember having a conversation with my team a couple of days ago to say that, we don't, that children going to be great in the future, right? Almost like, how that narrative we have as Nigerians, let me just say Nigerians. Well, okay, so all these things you are going to use them in the future, so that narrative makes it even seem as if I'm just learning something today. When I go home, I don't need to apply anything I've learned today. It's in the future, maybe when I'm 25 or when I'm post-university. And I was telling, my team that a 13-year-old somewhere in the world is going to create an app now, right? And that app is going to be useful and relevant. And all of us, including myself, we're going to jump on that app and start to use it. Do you see what I mean? So these are the things we're talking about. So it is we need to start from erasing that narrative of future. The future is where children are going to be great. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, Finn. That future absolutely. Perspective, that narrative of the future. Maybe if you stop that and then bring it to the things that you're using today. I mean, you need mathematics even in computing, right? You need mathematics in almost everything that it is that you are doing, right? So if we're applying that to today, to children creating things, children solving problems, children, innovating, then we would, I think we will be more on the right track, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And you're welcome to the show this morning, Dr. Omotola Akinshola.
Good morning. Yes, sorry for being late. I was here and then I got kicked out, but back now. Thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to have you in now. Our next headline, USAID AUN organized reading competition in Hausa language. Let's get your thoughts on this, Motola.
I think it's a great initiative because I know that irrespective of how the world is becoming globalized and, English is the official language of the world, there are still some parts of the world or specific countries that they're so proud of, like their languages, and that's something that they still teaches in. So I think this is a great initiative. Whether you're Hausa or not, if you're interested, you should definitely jump on it and definitely try it, because like every language has their beauty. And so I'm really glad that they are taking the time and the effort to really showcase the Hausa language.
Great. Awesome. Does Dr. Bimbo have anything to add to this?
So I particularly think it makes a lot of sense because the English language acts as a barrier to education, right? It does. Because many of the areas, I mean, we that are in central spots like Lagos, Abuja, and all the fun areas, we are not in the hinterland, those inner places where the English is not something that comes naturally. But what if they are able to learn mathematics, learn science, and learn all these other things using their traditional language, right? What if these textbooks, what if this instruction comes in the traditional language such that English, that we have to learn English before we now then learn that, doesn't act as a barrier. Now, of course, there's a lot to think about, because when they are doing the testing, when they are doing, SSC, JAMB and all these things, they're in the English language. But Can we begin to rethink that? Can we begin to rethink that, right? Because yes, English is our whatever is whatever language it is that is English is Nigeria. But when you go into those inner parts, many people can't. Even even the Yoruba that we speak is not the Yoruba that many people in South West speak. There are some other dialects of Yoruba that are even deeper. So if you now say, okay, you know what? Yeah. So if you now say, okay, until you learn English, you can't go to school, then it's sort of wasting their time. Instead of wasting their time. So I think that it is something that if you look at it on a larger scale and say, how do we instruct in local languages so that the child even understands what science is, right? Without having that barrier of English, then is a first place. Then we then figure out somehow, you know how, let me give you an example. Many children that come into the UK, they have that English as a second language something that they do. Because the first point of instruction for them was in their local language. But that doesn't mean that they don't know mathematics. That doesn't mean they don't know English or science. So what if we approach that? I think that is something we need to really consider in Nigeria. I think so. I really do think so. Yeah.
Sometime I think earlier in the week or maybe very late last week, we talked about culture and for us not losing culture. It was earlier this week when we were talking about education exhibition and talking about our culture and how it features. So where mother tongue is presented in this part like something negative, like something that we should run away from, like something that should be expunged.
Absolutely.
But sometimes you find out that students even learn better if their language of instruction is their mother tongue.
And is their first language, yes.
That's why this initiative is a good one, and I'm particularly glad that it's happening, or maybe it's kind of kicking off, maybe, or that this is featuring in a part of the country where education performance is quite low.
Can I quickly add something? So I remember, maybe 2012, 2013, I had the opportunity to visit India. So I was in Bangalore in India. And I realized that in India, right, they instruct in their local language, right? And the official outfit for work, like, how we say, okay, you are going to work, what are you wearing? Is their cultural traditional outfit, right? So they would not go to work in this Western suits that we struggle to do in funny weather. Do you know what I mean? So is that whole thing, that sari, and I'm like, so but it doesn't. That's what maybe the less we are, more in, I don't know. So we need to settle down and think of what is Nigeria and what does Nigeria need. And how do we give Nigerians what they need within, within easy access, rather than trying to be totally, deep. I know, let me stop, but it's something that I'm just quite passionate about, right? Because all these gaps that exist, many of them can easily be closed if we just look at things in a different perspective.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go on to our next headline. Sultan commits to Girl Child Initiative. I think I want to start this off asking Mr. Eitayo, what's your thoughts on this?
There's a time you keep saying, what's your thoughts on it? Well, do you think my thoughts will bring the solution? I think
your thoughts could translate to solution.
Well, it's important that the people that matter, there are people, we call them the voice, we have the face, we have the hand of society. And so when people like the Sultan, I hope you understand that there are factors that affect development at different strata. So it's almost like saying that, what, Sultan, you are the voice, you are the father of the people, you are the father of the religion or a faith-based sect. If you lend your voice to this, definitely people will begin to have like this what we call attitudinal change. So I think for a start, it's a good one because it's a figure that is respected, and the traditional stool or the sultan, how do I put it now? The monarch structure is like the principal paramount ruler. So you need to give it to them for being able to get his buy-in, because what happens now is others begin to, either by condition or by conviction, they begin to follow suit. And that's what we need, because really the situation is bad.
Thank you for that. I think we just leave it at that and move on to the next headline. Um, do we have one more? Mathematics? Okay. So, moving on to our topic for today, we're talking about talents in the sun. Talents in the sun. And what does it mean by talents? What do we mean by talents in the sun? Uh, we are considering and looking at exhibiting our talent, the talents in our students, in our schools. And it's quite fitting that we're talking about exhibiting our talent from an exhibition ground. You're welcome, Ugochi. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning. We are live from Tulsi.
Good morning, P. Good morning, Dr. Motola, Mr. Ritimi, and I can't see the name of the fifth
Good
person, so
morning.
I don't know who that is. Good morning to you
That's
too.
Dr. Bondere.
Oh, okay, Dr. Good morning.
Morning.
You go to greet me again. I like the way you call my name.
I can't remember how I called it.
Call my name. You just call it.
Mr.
Just to read
Ritimi.
to me.
Good.
All right, and I'm excited that we had a little bit of comment from Dr. Bimbo on the thing that borders around the topic of today. Because if you look at it, when we talk about children are leaders of tomorrow, or children will be great in the future, it's not a total true statement. We're already great, right? To the degree of what we do in those children, we need to understand that greatness starts today. And one of the things that the topic of today is treating is what we call talent in the sun. Talent is never meant to be hidden. It's not something that should be at the backside. And that's the reason why a lot of times people feel frustrated about certain things, or sometimes people choose certain professions above the other because one seems not to be in the sun, not in the spotlight. And this applies to talent as well. So the first question we should ask is this: how can we begin to celebrate the diversity of talents, especially in the context of today? And let's start with Dr. Motola the Great.
I would say we can start by not making one talent feel more important than the other, if you know what I mean. Because I know in the history of our country, at least in the past, in my own decades of being alive, there's this tendency of believing that some talents are more worthy of focus and attention than the other, and because of that, a lot of people have been beaten down. A lot of creativity has died. A lot of ideas generating talent have not been built upon. So I'll say the first thing would be to find the ways to democratize like talent and not make people fit like a round, like a square when they're a circle, or when they're a rectangle, or a triangle in that regard. And so I'll say that's one of the things, is like encouraging children from an early age to explore, to be willing to try things, not to say that, oh, you're going to be a doctor, or you're just going to be an engineer, or you're good for nothing. Nothing can come out of your life, because it's both sides. It's not just about the sciences alone, but it's also about not believing in the young ones, not giving them the opportunity to self-express their talent enough to be able to use it for good and for development. So I'll say the first thing will be first, mm, yes, investing in cultivating different talents, not just picking out specific ones or traits that students should focus on, but being willing to celebrate all.
All right, thank you for that. All talents matter. I feel like that should be a hashtag. Hashtag all talents matter. And for us to, as parents, as educators, as teachers, as guardians for the children, not look at, oh, this child is more science tended and maybe more science is has more talent in in something we consider maybe a money maker or a money spinner, or what we just believe is much more like a child that likes to draw, for instance, and then we feel, what's the point? Look, you need to look for talent, or you need to develop a talent, and then we begin to force them maybe to play sports, because yeah, football is making a lot of money, and sports generally is making a lot of money for. Before we begin to celebrate the talent, how do we help children cultivate their talent? Ugochi.
So I would say that we must see talent, greatness as a journey and not as a destination. Things that we're encouraging the children to do great things every day. And what are great things? Being a good human, being kind. Oh, you saw something going wrong on the playground and you did something about it. Or you saw someone crying and you showed compassion. Or you finished eating your meals and you disposed your trash in the right place. All those little things, so that it's just like what Dr. Matala talked about, not making some things look bigger and then some things looking insignificant. Because part of the reason why we don't have well-rounded children is because well-rounded adults rather, is because some parts were praised and some parts were not really seen as important. And then as they are now full-blown adults, you can see that that part affecting what they are doing today. A grown adult will be driving on the road and throw a bottle of an empty plastic out of their car window. So imagine what they are modeling to the children around them. So greatness should be seen as a lifelong journey and not a destination. Let children know that from the little things you are doing here every day, being responsible. When it is done that way, you would see that people don't just keep putting off their happiness or putting off everything to that future when somebody now externally validates them as a measure of success or of being great. That will be totally taken away because they now begin to that, oh, every day I make progress, every day I do something good, I'm great, I'm doing something towards that future that I'm working towards. Yeah, so for me, it's basically about ensuring that greatness is a part of everyday process. How are they managed in class? How are they managed at home, in their place of worship? All those components together.
Right, thank you for that. So we're talking. We've touched on celebrating. We're going to dig deeper into discovering the talent. But I'm going to ask Bimbo, what do
Before
you? How
before you discover the talent, we just discovered Dr.
we just
Motola's face.
discovered it.
So that's a talent.
I
I'm
promise,
sure
someone
Mr.
requested.
Olatunde Rashid will be so happy to see her face.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm telling you, in fact,
I hope he's
um,
online though.
you can watch it later and see, because I know that you requested. So I said, okay, I'm going to try.
Okay, so a
I,
description is to go under the video that says to watch out for the discovery of the unveiling of.
this is a serious show, man. Tell somebody, tell somebody. Continue over
Okay,
to you, please.
Okay, so I was coming to Dr. Goderia and say that when the talents are discovered, Okay, we're spotlighting people to kind of get them to put on their videos. So we're going to be uncovering more faces, maybe.
Not from my side.
Get on the train now. Get on the train.
The train has left.
We go to his politician now. Because when you say get on train, say get on train as in, which means she might be near a city that uses train. Who knows? It might be in a country that uses train. And the way that Dr. Motola is smiling, seems like goat is in her house.
Oh, I see.
Don't worry, Oguchi, anytime you're welcome. I would love to host you. So please, when you're on this side, let me know. Let me know.
No
Dr.
problem.
Bimbo, you to tell them you will host me now. Somebody should host me too.
But you know that's natural. Hosting you is you don't even need an invitation. You are hosted. Just where you are now, you are being hosted by me. You just don't know. You just don't know. I'm the one hosting you.
I have people who have my back.
Yeah, you got people.
We thank God.
Okay. Let's get back on our topic. How do we not? What practical steps can we take as guardians, as those in charge of these talents that are in our hands? What practical steps can we take to nurture on a daily basis to ensure that their talents are they're discovering, and that they are not just, for some children, it's their personality that stands in the place of their exhibiting and being and maximizing the potential of their talents. So some feel, oh, maybe I'm too restless, so I can't possibly do this kind of thing. Or it's meant for people who are a little more patient or stuff like that. How do we help them on a daily basis to nurture this talent, to sharpen it, and to be able to put it to use? Dr. Gundere?
All right. I mean, it's a fantastic topic. I mean, really great. So I'm going to respond to this, and I'll circle back to add to one of the previous comments. So you have children either as a parent or as someone that is a guardian or a teacher, right, or a school system. So for me, it is first of all observing the children. It is being so we as the adults in the space must have a high measure of discipline and intentionality with regards to actually helping children to identify. So we must be intentional about observing children. We must be intentional about giving children feedback about the observations. So I see a child always leaning towards, when it's time to, pick a microphone, the child is the first there and, very confident. When it's time to draw something, the child is excited. Because some of these children they don't know what is happening, right? They don't know that this is what is happening. So we are the ones that would observe them. We are the ones that will give them feedback. We are the ones that would encourage them. We would also create opportunities for them to continue to explore this talent. And I think that is where many of us fall short because, different excuses. We are tired, we are this, we are blah, blah, blah. So being intentional about saying, okay, so I see that you like to, you hum, right? So you're always humming along. You're always, okay, so could this be some kind of musical thing? Okay, is there a music school or a singing school around the neighborhood, or is there something that we can create in the school, right, to support the children who seem to be inclined, towards all these musical things? Can we create a program for them, right? And then you give them the opportunity, the time to engage in that. And while they're engaging, you keep on observing again to say, okay, so how well are they engaging? Is there feedback, right? Is there something we can tell them? Can we encourage? Let me give you a perfect example. So yesterday, I happened upon our year 6 children who are rehearsing for their graduation. And then there's this lovely girl with a lovely voice, and she was asked to sing. But you could see that she was singing the song, lovely, sonorous something. And she was just shaking and she was just saying nervous, So I had to go into overdrive in, telling her, speaking to her. And because that voice, a fabulous voice, but she was not sure. She was wondering about feedback, what are my mates thinking? What are the people thinking? So I had to ask them to clap for her, I had to change that. So how intentional are we with that? Because children are children. They are not always confident. They are not always excited. I might be good at something, but I'm still thinking, what are people thinking about this? Children are also like Safety Chick said, they are going through their own journey and their own process. So we need to be very intentional about observing, identifying, giving them that opportunity, the experiences, right? The space, right? The field, that seed of talent. We need to go and find a fertile soil to plant it in so that thing begins to bloom, right? And we are supporting them throughout because again, it's a journey. It's not all the time that they'll be excited to do these things. So I would use the example of my children, right? And children obviously are the kids' school and all that. So that is that. Now, the other thing I wanted to quickly mention is that I don't know if I'm going to start sounding like a broken record, but we cannot remove ourselves from the what's the English, from the society where we find ourselves. Now, the reason why many parents would say, hey, you say you are a what, drummer. Hey, God forbid. They'll take it to the pastor, they'll take it to a riverine area, they'll wash your head. Maybe not now, but I'm thinking, let's say maybe a decade or two ago. It's because how would drummers eat now? Where would drummers find food to eat? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So we're not saying, I just want us to really give cut everybody some slack. So it is not that they don't like that the child can drum, but they are thinking that, hey, this child that I gave birth to, that I want to be great, is this drumming going to take the child to the next level? Now, look at the difference between, 2 decades ago and now. Look at all the creativity, because now all the things are there. Social media is there, internet is there. There are like 58 jobs around social media and internet, and all the, there are all those jobs now that bring creativity to bear. There are so many things people can actually be. You can earn your living drumming because there are all sorts of avenues for you to drum now. There are also avenues for you to sing. Imagine somebody said you wanted to be a comedian in 1982. You'll be slapped. You'll be slapped. You'll be killed. Do you know what I mean? So, but now, luckily for us, the society is changing. My daughter can say she wants to be anything. I know that anything she wants to be, there is space for it, right? If there's no space for it, we'll create the space for that thing that she wants to do. So that's what I'm talking about. So it is getting better, right? Talent is awesome. I know much parents now are, I'll give you an example. My kids go to swim in the morning, and I see a father of a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, 2 boys, and they get to the pool at 5 a.m. And these boys are sweet in the time that they swim. And guess what? It is fine because they can be the Olympic swimmer, and all of us, we will put them in Nigeria. They'll be on the forefront of our news because that is where the world is now, right? So just wanted to dial back and say a bit about that. Yes.
Excuse me.
So,
Vita, what is that 5 a.m.?
Don't do 5 a.m. Stay on your own. Stay on your own. Say your own.
Good morning water show from 5 a.m. before the Good Morning Education show. Oh,
yes, you got to do those things. These children must be great by force.
Welcome, KK, the One Woman Republic. KK, good morning. How are you today? KK, are you there? Okay, so to follow up with what Dr. Bimbo said, I quickly want to ask and throw this out to both Ugochi, possibly find out. There are times that we might see a child playing football at a young age, and we totally assume that he's going to turn out as a footballer. What do you have to say this? Is it possible that there might be a wrong approach in this, where a child is dancing to music and we automatically say that it seems like this child will become a dancer? Over to you, Gochi.
Okay, so okay, so a friend of mine always says that treat life like a buffet, most especially when you're growing up. You know, you keep try several things, and as you try them, oh, I like this one day you take more of that. So this means that even though we realize that okay, the child has that love for football, right? It doesn't mean we're not going to say, oh, it's only football they're going to do. Would give them the opportunity to learn that, right? But then would also give them opportunities to try their hands on other things that pique their interest, because you just never know. And I don't think the idea of when they find something and then you giving them an opportunity to shine there means that is the only thing they would focus on. No, I know that, for example, our last sibling, he really liked football, and he once told my dad he wanted to sign up, and they allowed him to play. But even though all that was going on, we also knew that he was great with computers, and so all the unnecessary opportunities to practice with computers and all that was provided. And also let him know that yes, if you really want to play this football, that's fine, but you complete your degree and then you decide, are you still going to go on? Then my guy started chopping software money, so I don't even think this football is still on his mind anymore. So the point basically is that as much as it looks like they are really doing well in one area, let's not restrict them to only that area. We still give them other opportunities to try other things, because as they grow and as they get more experiences, they begin to find, okay, what do I really want? And it won't be good that we, as they grow up, only channel them in only one direction, and they are not able to now branch out into other things that pique their interest. So that's what I would say on that, Mr. Iti.
All right. Thank you so much for that. It's getting a bit noisy right here at Tose. But then still in the spirit of talent in the sun, I'd like us to see or meet Moyo. Moyo is also known as Moyo Lifematics. She's just going to say hello to everyone, and then we say hello to her. So over to you.
Hello.
Okay, I think I'm trying to see who I
Good
can
morning.
recognize. Okay, yeah, I've never met her, but yes, I see her very well online.
Yeah. All right, so that's the Doctor of Mathematics from this angle. I'm sure you guys can hear. Okay, now the volume is better. So we'll take one more question around the house, and then we'll wrap it up.
Hey, Mr. Jai, can you hear us now? Okay, so to round off, because the exhibition is really kicking in already. So to round
Yes, I
off,
can.
ask that how can we help children stay focused and balanced between their academics, their talents, developing their talents, and not suffering for the other? What practical things can we do that to attain that balance?
I mean, that's such a beautiful question. Thanks for that question, Fee. So honestly, right, that balance is really difficult to attain. And I would say it because when you talk about a balance, right, when children are in school, they are in school. We as educators want XYZ happening, but the reality is it's not just about you. You also have the home front, right? You have the parents' access there. And so before you can even create that balance, you need to have an understanding, right, in the home, right? The home needs to know this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and you need to be really clear about that. Because if you're not clear, what would happen is you would start to hear things like, in that school they're always playing, in that school they're always dancing, in that school they don't do academics, So you need to be very careful, because the children will go home and talk a lot. The children will go home and talk a lot about all of those things that they do in school that they're enjoying. Children just don't necessarily enjoy the academics. They love it. But I mean, if you give me a chance to dance and sing and, play my drums, like Bimbo was talking about, I'll talk about playing the drums a lot more when I get home, right? So there needs to be, first of all, a framework that you want to use. So ask yourself, how do we want to do this? Are we going to bring it in the curriculum, or is it going to be extra curriculum? So if it's ex curriculum, then communicate that very clearly. However, it's important that we understand that people do not consist of just academics, right? So think about how you're going to blend it into academics. I was having a conversation this morning about art, and how we didn't do as much of art as we would like to this term, again, because of COVID-19 restrictions and things like that. And so here we are having a quick morning meeting and saying, let's look at the term ahead. What exactly do we want to do? And the art is not just about painting and drawing, right? And that's why STEAM is so important in the curriculum. It's not just STEM, right, where we look at the science part of it and the engineering and the maths, right? So let's look at the arts part of it, and the arts part of it is this talent, right? And that's what we need to begin to look at. And it's not forcing children to say, oh, you know what, this is who you are. You know what, show me your talent, show me your talent. Some people are mathematical geniuses, and that's their talent. So again, it's coming from the point of view of the children and saying, what exactly is it that you want to showcase? Who exactly are you? And how can we nurture this in such a manner that you then become more confident of who you are in totality? Understanding the fact that, honestly, as Bimbo said, children don't even, we as adults, how many of us even fully know and understand our skill sets? We're not there yet. We progressively get into that space where we become who we were born to be, right? So we need to understand that it's exactly the same with the children, and not be too pushy and forceful about bringing out their talents into the sun, right? They need to grow in confidence. They need to understand their place and exactly how they can even manage the skills. And so just to speak directly to your question, one thing that we can do in the schools is, one, talk with the parents. And the second thing that we need to be able to do is have a purposeful framework for integrating the children's personality styles, their loves, their passions into their learning, right? Because that's also very important. Number three is, how do we even measure effectiveness? Everything that we do needs to be effective in a matter of saying, right? So what exactly is this thing feeding into? It's important that we clear that out, we say it really clearly, such that regardless of what the children are doing, whether they didn't do it well, depending on how we define well, and whether they did do it well, they're confident in the fact that they're progressing. The fourth thing that I would say is, have the children, let them have a voice. Because we want to show a particular type of talent, maybe that, the kids in our school can play the violin, they can play the drums, they can play the piano, they can dance, they can sing, doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the children want to do. So where is child voice in this? That's something that I would really be pushy about and say it needs to happen, right? And then the fifth and final thing is feedback. We need to be very robust with our feedback. And the feedback, I always say it in this show, right? It's not just because we're trying to say that, you know what, you could have done this better, you could have done this, but it's feedback so that they can feed forward. You could have done this better in this area. Do you maybe want to do this going forward? And what that does is it gives the person the next step to do to get better at that amazing thing that it is that they're doing. But I mean, great topic. Thank you very much, Fee. And my apologies for coming in late. Yeah, back to you. This is Keke.
Thank you very much for that. Before we take our grant for the day, there's a comment by Olushola Olumide that it's important that we take. He says it should be realized that children can be multi-talented, which brings up the issue of dispersed focus, which dissipates energy. Also, as children evolve, their interests change. So proper guidance is very important. Yes, we need to take note of this as parents and as caregivers, as educators, to know that really we need to help them, to guide them to focus. And when they say, I'm suddenly not interested in football anymore, I want to go into fashion, then we can properly guide them. So over to Dr. Motola to take us through the grant for the day.
Absolutely. But before I do that, I'm just going to add one more comment to what has already been said. Like, I agree that balance is overrated and it may never be achieved. So striving for balance is even a problem in itself. And what I will encourage is like harmony, like understanding your child, like taking the time to say, okay, what is the personality trait of this child? What do they tend to? What connect, whether it's science, art, how does this connect together? And then based on the time and the resources that you have, funneling that into it for the, and like we said, things change. Children can change their mind at any time. So I think finding harmony between whether it's what we think is the soft skills or the art skills and connecting those together, I think will make a huge lot of difference and make it easier. And it won't become more of a, oh my God, it's a tug of war between focusing on what they think is the right thing to focus on and what is the lesser things to focus on. But beyond that, so the grant of the day is from Charles Stewart Budd Foundation, and the deadline is rolling, meaning that you can apply at any time this month, next month, 2 months from now. It's open for you to, they take applications. Also, you can get between $2,000 to $500,000 depending on the size of your project. And the field of work that you can apply these to include economic services and development, green economy, job renewal, sustainability, and energy project. And for applicants who can apply, that means nonprofit organizations, NGO, indigenous groups. So like if you're like, especially like in rural areas, and then government entities. So like it can be like a public university, public schools that is owned by the government, or even the government officials themselves can apply as well. And you can use the funding for projects and programs. And the location is like Cameroon, Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, South Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, and the likes as well. And you also have access to the website to go check it out and see if it's something that you need for your own project. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Motola. And as we round off, it's a good talking about talent and bringing the talent out in the sun. Right behind me, you can see the color banner for the 12th National Spelling Bee. That's the annual spelling bee organized by Team Masters. So registration is on for the next spelling bee. Let's see which of those children, those children that seem like they can't stop reading. They like to, this is the opportunity for them to show who they are, what they've got, and for us to nurture it. So the umbrella banner is there. The registration is on and closes on 30th of September. Registration is on, and the link will be dropped in the comment section for us to register the kids. And children from the ages of 5 to 16 are eligible to register, and you can register as an individual candidate or as a part of a school. So schools can register the children or the students, and parents can register their children individually. Hey, it's time to let those children, let's give them the wings to fly. Let's not stop them from being the great, the great people they can be. And on that note, we're rounding off on the show this morning. Thank you, Dr. Abimbola Ogunjere. Thank you, Safety Chick, Ugochi Obidego, Dr. Motola Akinshola, Mrs. Okeifu Ajayi, and Mr. Rotimi Eitaya. Thank you for being on the show this morning, and to everyone who has joined us, Olushola Olumide, and every one of our tribe members who is in the background. Thank you for being here today. But we will not leave without our usual sign off. So this morning, let's take it together at the count of 3.
Who is counting?
We're waiting for the count.
Exactly.
Okay, let me count. 1, 2, 3. It's always a
great
morning. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.